The Aurelian Council's grand chamber drifted in silent majesty, above the debris-strewn orbit of Ganymede Station. Its walls, crafted from translucent crystalline panels, offered an uninterrupted view into the velvet expanse of space, distant, suns twinkling like watchful eyes, the mottled surface of the Jovian moon rotating slowly beneath, and the scarred hull of the shattered research platform that had once been Ganymede's pride. Holographic banners bearing the emblems of three great factions, the Human United Earth, the Krathali Collective, and the Realmer Alliance, flickered in subdued light, symbols of a fragile truce painstakingly brokered after decades of border skirmishes and resource disputes. At the center of this ethereal amphitheater stood Ambassador Liara Veston, Earth's foremost peacekeeper, her posture unwavering as she prepared to sign the historic Trilateral Accord. Clad in the iridescent cuirass of the United Nations Vanguard Corps, her uniform gleamed with embedded nanofibers that shifted colors to match her surroundings, an ancient tradition intended to remind emissaries that they stood, first and foremost, for adaptation and diplomacy. Her dark hair was bound back, severe yet elegant, and her deep-set gray eyes scanned the assembled delegates with a steady warmth. To her left, the Krathali emissary, an immense crystalline entity whose thousand-faceted form refracted ambient light into dancing prismatic arcs, hovered on a subtle field of electromagnetic levitation. It communicated in subsonic resonance, its thoughts translated by specialized biosymbiont devices that pulsed in time with the low-frequency hum. On her right, the Realmer delegate, its silicon-based body alive with soft bioluminescent currents, locked its multi-jointed limbs into a stance of solemn respect. Rows of human diplomats, planetary governors, and military observers crowded the outer galleries, each representing the millions who had suffered under endless cold conflicts. For control of the Vela Rift's mineral veins, Liara raised her voice, amplified by the chamber's acoustic matrix. Fellow delegates, representatives of the Krathali and Realmer, we stand at a crossroads of history, she began, her tone both measured and passionate. For too long, our worlds have gazed upon one another with suspicion. Each border skirmish threatened to ignite into all-out war. Today, we choose a different path. Today, we embrace cooperation and shared stewardship of the Vela Rift's resources, ensuring prosperity for all our peoples. Murmurs of assent rippled through the chamber. The Krathali emissary responded with a resonant chord that the translation array rendered as, "We agree. The collective memory demands balance." The Realmer flashed patterns of pale blue light across its carapace, signifying concurrence. Liara offered a small, relieved smile. A stately mechanism descended from the ceiling, the tri-lumen pen array, 3 quills, each forged from the sacred metals of the signatories' homeworlds, hovered over a platinum treaty scroll. Liara stepped forward, exhaled, and pressed her palm to the biometric scanner beside the quill withdrawn from Earth's core forge. As the pen began to inscribe her signature in glowing plasma ink, a hush fell, history being written in real time. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered and a low siren sliced through the silence. Red alert bars blinked across every viewport. Liara's calm badge buzzed insistently against her chest. She glanced at Lieutenant Omar Davik, her junior aide, whose ashen face illuminated by the crimson glow gave nothing away. "Ambassador Veston," Omar said, voice tight, "we have an emergency at the southern docking bay." Liara's heart tightened. "Details," she demanded. "Multiple hull breaches," Omar replied, eyes flicking to his handheld display. "Seismic-grade impact. Thermal signatures non-standard. Preliminary scans indicate a modified pneumonic warhead." The chamber's atmosphere shifted. Delegates recoiled. The Krathali phasing pattern stuttered into panic, their calm resonance fracturing. The Realmer currents stuttered to jagged pulses of distress. Liara's voice rang out, crisp and commanding. "Lock down all sections. Seal airlocks immediately. Life support teams, prep for decompression contingencies. Security protocol Zulu is in effect." A chorus of mechanical clicks and pneumatic hisses punctuated her words. As doors slid shut planetward and force fields shimmered into place, crews in gray and black Vanguard uniforms raced through curved corridors. their boots magnetically clamped to the floor as they flanked the main transport tubes. Liara strode toward the chamber's control alcove, every instinct on high alert. Through the crystalline panels, she saw the sleek docking arm swing toward a battered freighter hull drifting dead in space. A single suicide drone, its hull scorched from prior war, hung motionless, trailing tendrils of molten metal. She zoomed the external cameras to see its marking, the jagged sigil of the Cortex Syndicate, a pirate corporation known for cybernetic assassins and black market arms trades. They came through the outer belts, Omar reported. Disguised as mining vessels, they used our own supply routes. Liara's expression hardened. An assassination attempt on an accredited peacekeeping mission. This is an act of war. She turned to the Krathali and Realmer delegates, raising her voice so all could hear. Let it be known, whoever sent that drone intended to derail peace. We will not stand idle while grave crimes threaten our accord. The Krathali emissary recomposed its crystalline facets, emitting a single resonant pulse interpreted as, justice must be served. The Realmer delegates' luminescent veins glowed steady violet, a sign of solemn agreement. Together, the Tri-Council had been entrusted to safeguard the peace. The drone's strike threatened that sacred duty. Overhead, automated repair drones, thin, spider-like constructs, descended to weld plating over the hull breach. Med-tech units in padded suits prepared to treat possible survivors. Though Liara feared none remained alive, she keyed her wrist holo. All ships in orbit, stand by battle. Stations, I repeat, all vessels stand by for retaliation orders. Omar exhaled sharply. Ambassador, orders from Earth Command will arrive in 27 minutes. They're debating whether to call this an act of terrorism or open aggression. Liara's jaw clenched. 27 minutes was an eternity when diplomatic lives hung in the balance. She severed the link. We cannot wait. She strode back to the days, feet echoing on polished flooring. Delegates, she announced, voice echoing in the charged stillness. This council no longer convenes under truce. Our mission is under attack. She raised her right hand, fingers splayed in the universal gesture of ceasefire. But this time, it was a warning. I hereby suspend further signings. All parties are authorized to defend themselves. We may yet salvage peace, but any further strikes will be answered in kind. A tense second passed. Then the Krathali emissary solidified its stance, sending another low-frequency chord. Our drones will patrol the belts. The Realmer delegates' light pulsed back. Our ships will stand guard. Liara nodded, lips pressed thin. Then prepare for battle. May history remember that we chose defense over capitulation. As alarms continued their relentless wail, she allowed herself a momentary glance at the drifting remains of Ganymede Station's defensive grid. Somewhere down that shattered corridor fell comrades who had believed in this moment of hope. She inhaled, steeling herself. The silent accord lay in tatters. The deepest peace would now be forged in the crucible of war, and she, Ambassador Liara Veston, would stand at the forefront, peacekeeper turned general, until justice was done or until the stars themselves went dark. The glass and steel spires of New Paris Citadel gleamed under Earth's pale dawn, their tips slicing through low-hanging clouds like defiant blades. At the heart of the Citadel's Grand Assembly Hall, President Ilyana Mercer stood before a holographic daze, her posture sculpted by years of political battles. All around her, ambassadors and military governors from the Earth Federation's 23 member states each, draped in formal regalia, watched with taut attention. Above them hovered the Tri-Council's emblem, 3 interlocking rings, symbolizing humanity, the Krathali, and the Realmer. Yet today, that ideal of unity bore the stain of blood. Behind Mercer's shoulder, a translucent projection displayed the image of Ambassador Liara Veston, her dignified visage fractured by the last transmission. It's a provocation. We must respond. Mercer's voice rippled through the chambers. Acoustic matrix, fellow citizens of Earth, representatives of allied species. Today we mourn the sacrifice of our peacekeeper. Ambassador Veston embodied the ethos of this federation, that we choose diplomacy over domination. She paused, scanning the solemn faces before her. Her murder at Ganymede Station is not merely a crime, it is an affront to every treaty we have forged, every hand we have extended in friendship. To let this act go unanswered would render our words hollow. A murmur rose, then fell silent as Mercer's steely gaze locked onto the Thali envoy whose crystalline form shimmered in sympathetic resonance, and the Realmer delegate whose bioluminescent veins pulsed in somber rhythm. Though far from Earth, those allies watched via secure quantum link, their silent ascent woven into the tense atmosphere. We have traced the perpetrators to the Cortex Syndicate, Mercer continued, a shadow network of pirates, warlords, and technocrats who traffic in violence and corruption. These criminals operate beyond any planetary jurisdiction, hiding behind mercenary masks while they sow chaos among the stars. The hall's holoscreens shifted to schematics of the Cortex's known strongholds: the mining world Krelix 4, the jungle moon Umbra 2, and the hidden fortress beneath Enceladus's ice. Detailed recon data showed heavily armed turrets, smugglers' tunnels, and encrypted calm beacons. Mercer tapped a control, zooming into the Cortex emblem, a skeletal fist wrapped around a bleeding gear. They aimed to provoke war among the Council's members, hoping to profit from our divisions. She let the implication hang: if Earth retaliated too harshly, the Krathali might withdraw their support. If Earth showed restraint, the Cortex would spread terror unchecked. It was a calculus with no easy solution. I therefore present the Council's resolution. Mercer declared, voice firm. Earth formally declares total war on the Cortex Syndicate and all complicit forces. Effective immediately. The United Earth Defense Fleet is authorized to pursue, engage, and eliminate any Cortex assets within human-controlled space. We petition the Krathali Collective and the Realmer Alliance to invoke the Tri-Lumen Treaty's Article 7, United Defense Against Unlawful Aggression. Let our fleets stand together, our troops fight side by side, and our intelligence networks merge in common purpose. Flanking Mercer, 2 aides brought forward 3 sealed vials of triluminescent plasma, each encoded with the formal declaration and the new rules of engagement. The vials were to be delivered to each faction's seat on the Aurelian Council, ratifying Earth's call for coalition action. As the Assembly President gavelled the resolution into effect, war horns sounded in every planetary capital. In New Paris, transporter pads snatched generals from their briefing rooms and beamed them directly into the Citadel's War Council. In Luna City, the United Earth Fleet's Admiralty signaled all ships to full combat readiness, charging gravitic drives, calibrating kinetic railguns, and uploading target profiles to AI gunnery cores. On Mars, Colonel Reinhard Stahl oversaw the rapid outfitting of the Forge Armada. His crimson-etched flagship, UESS Nemesis, thundered its engines in test runs across Vales Marineris. They killed our ambassador, Stahl growled to his officers. Now we show them the cost of war. Half a galaxy away, transmission beacons crackled through subspace. The Krathali Collective dispatched their Crystal Guard Leviathans, gigantic, bioengineered vessels whose hulls refracted stellar light into dazzling prisms. The Realmer Alliance mobilized their silicon dreadnoughts, each vessel a living entity, its crew bonded by neural links that made them faster and deadlier than any human pilot. Despite the mounting fervor for swift vengeance, dissenting voices rose in Earth's Senate. Senator Marisol Tai confronted Mercer on the daisy's edge. Madam President, have we weighed the risk of escalation? The Cortex may be cornered, but cornered beasts lash out unpredictably. A full-scale assault risks drawing Krathali and Realmer civilians into open hostilities against our own fleet, should they perceive any breach of Alliance protocols. Mercer met Tai's gaze, unwavering. Senator, the time for debate has passed. Our treaties guarantee collective security. If the Krathali or Realmer find fault with our execution, they may invoke diplomatic channels, but they will not see us falter. Under fear of reprisals, Ambassador Veston gave her life for peace. To honor her, we must have the courage to pursue true security. Tai bowed stiffly, deferring to Earth's leader. The hall buzzed as delegates returned to their stations, coordinating orbital packs and supply convoys everywhere. Civilian news wires broadcast Mercer's declaration: Earth at war, galactic allies unite. On the remote moon Umbra 2, Cortex sympathizers cheered the impending conflict. In the neon-lit back alleys of the crime ring's black market bazaars, brokers traded in contraband graviton mines and zero-point explosives. Warlord Carrick's words echoed through encrypted channels. Let them come. We will show them how. Chaos is shaped by force, and in the end, we, the Cortex, will emerge supreme. But across the battle lines, a weary but determined humanity steeled itself. Families bid tearful farewells in transit hubs as soldiers embarked. Starship engineers worked double shifts, patching hulls and refining weapons. In every corner of human space, one sentiment prevailed. The death of a single peacekeeper had kindled a fire that would not be extinguished until justice was served. And thus, with the pen's ink still wet on Earth's ultimatum, the gears of war began to turn. The fragile promise of the Tri-Lumen Accord, once shining with hope, now blazed in the fires of total war. In the looming struggle between order and anarchy, every soul across 3 species braced for the coming storm. The universe would never be the same. The void around Epsilon Eridani burned with silent violence as Earth's first offensive surged into the system. Through the swirling debris of an ancient asteroid belt, the UESS Concordia, flagship of the United Earth Defense Fleet, cut a path of blue-white gravitic thrusts. Its hull, patterned in the sleek lines of warship design, hummed with latent energy ion shields shimmering like heat haze across a desert plain. The Commodore's gambly in the bridge. Commodore Honoreus stood before the panoramic tactical display, fingers steepled beneath her chin. Her dark hair was pinned back, though a single strand had escaped, brushing her temple. She studied the grid of moving contact blips Earth's fighters, forming protective wedges around the Concordia, while Cortex frigates lay hidden behind massive asteroids. Recon drones report 39 hostiles, intoned the tactical AI. Its voice neutral, they employ gravitic camouflage, visual confirmation in 90 seconds if sensors hold. Reyes tapped her gauntlet, evasive into 1. Now, the bridge lurched as the Concordia's inertial compensators surged. Outside, dozens of sonic-thin gravitic nets rippled from the bow, deflecting stray pebbles and disruptor fire. A blistering volley of ion bolts slashed through the darkness, scoring the hull with sizzling arcs of plasma. Damage to port discriminator coil 15%, reported Chief Engineer Rohit. Magal. He hurried over diagnostics. We're diverting auxiliary power, but sustained hits like this will strain the grid. Recommend neutralizing that frigate cluster. Reyes nodded. Gunnery. Concentrate battery for on contacts Delta 6 through Delta-9. Fire on my mark. Batteries. Charged, replied Lieutenant Vega at weapons. The starboard railguns clicked into alignment. Mark, Reyes breathed. Ion beams leapt from the Concordia's turrets, cutting through rock and void. One frigate erupted in stainless shards, another shuddered, its drive core flaring red. Behind the asteroid cover, Earth fighters poured forward, their contrails spiking into the void like widows weeping. 2. The grounded Haroon the Concordia's secondary hangar deck. Lieutenant Omar Davik fought the rising tide of panic. His evacuation shuttle, once a lifeline, lay torn open, systems offline. Beside him, 2 gravity anchors from the Cortex boarding party glowed with black market tech. Ready to magnetically latch onto the hull, he vaulted over a blasted console. Rifle in hand, Marines, fall back to the airlock, he screamed. Foam from a ruptured pipe hissed around him, filling the corridor with choking mist. A squad of Vanguard infantry, clad in bullet-gray exosuits, responded. Sergeant Tali Wynn, her short-cropped hair plastered by sweat, covered their retreat with stun baton pulses that crackled like miniature lightning. Nearby, Corporal Yun flicked his wrist, deploying a magnetic net that ensnared one of the Cortex operatives. Tearing the boarder's arm from its socket, Davik sprinted through the hatch. Marking the door to close, the corridor rumbled overhead as graviton torpedoes slammed into the upper decks, shaking the station like a trapped animal. Shields are down to 20%, shouted Wynn over comms. We can't hold much longer. Davik cursed, slamming his rifle butt against the bulkhead. Come on, come on. The hatch cycled shut with a pneumatic hiss and the clang of metal. He exhaled, relief flooding him for the briefest moment until his comm crackled again. Commodore to Lieutenant Davik. Do you read? He tapped the panel, voice raw. "Commodore, this is Davik. We're secure in Hangar 2, but we've taken heavy casualties. Cannot hold without reinforcements. Static." Then raises measured reply. "Understood. Extraction ships are en route, but they'll be delayed by the blockade. Hang tight. Elias and the Norse squadron will break through. Out." Davik's shoulders slumped. "Copy that. Hold the line." 3. The fighters plight high above the station's orbital rings. Captain Mara Veston led Eagle Squadron, 12 sleek starfighters emblazoned with Earth's eagle insignia. As the squadron curved around a spinning rock monolith, Mara's HUD flared with enemy radar cortex interceptors weaving through the swarm. "Eagle 1 to all." Her voice rippled over secure channel. "Stick to formation. We're bait. They'll come to us. Copy, 1." Came the chorus of replies. Mara thumbed her transponder, locking a target the lead cortex fighter, painted in venom green stripes. She squeezed the trigger. A burst of electromagnetic slugs tore through the vacuum, chipping the enemy's port wing. Evasive maneuvers followed as two more interceptors barreled in. "Damn, they're fast," radioed Lieutenant Ree, his voice jittery. "Systems are overloaded." Mara banked steeply, the G-forces slamming her chest plate. "Keep that up, Ree. They'll overheat before we do." She guided her fighter behind an asteroid pillar, firing a torpedo that detonated with a muted pulse. Shrapnel rained across the void. Behind her wing, Lieutenant Davik's evac shuttle, now repurposed as a gunship, rumbled forward, its side-mounted Gatling cannon thundering. It picked off to Cortex fighters before a plasma beam scored its flank, sending the shuttle spinning into a tumbling descent. "No," Mara cried. She blazed aft, slamming her craft's nose into the attack vector. With a final, blazing pass, she unleashed a proximity missile that cleaved through the remaining interceptor. "Eagle to down." Came Ree's cold report. "1 survivor, maybe." Mara's throat constricted. She toggled the comm. "All units, fall back to rendezvous point Alpha 3. Repeat, fall back, 4. Turning the tide back on the Concordia, Reyes saw the fractured contact report. "Davik's region is sealed," she told her executive officer. "Eagle Squadron is limping. Gripen Wing has lost comms. We're stretched thin." "Sir," said Intelligence Officer Timar, leaning over a holomap of the system, "the Cortex are using those gravitic grenades null nova torpedoes. Once they impact, they fracture space locally and collapse shields. We need a countermeasure." Reyes seized on the insight. "Deploy the new phase shift arrays. If we can flicker our shields in and out of phase with their warheads, they'll pass right through." The engineering decks lit up in furious activity. Bulkheads hummed as the phase arrays slid into place. Moments later, a null nova torpedo hurtled toward the Concordia, its gravity field distorting space like a heat mirage. As it reached the shields, the arrays activated. The energy bolt passed through the shield matrix into void and fizzled into harmless neutrinos. Shields at 98%. Maggle reported with a relieved grin. "Excellent," Reyes breathed. "Now, fire everything we've got." The Concordia's batteries discharged in a cascade of lethal arcs. Enemy ships, unprepared for the sudden turn, exploded in chains of flaming debris. Across the system, Earth fighters rallied, pressing the advantage. Gripen Wing rejoined the fight, their missile salvos tearing through enemy flankers. Recon drones, guided salvage vessels to collect survivors, both human and Cortex, some still conscious. Mouths agape at the ferocity displayed. The aftermath in the EBS 3 hours later. The Epsilon Eridani system lay semi-quiet. Comms drones crawled through the asteroid belt, broadcasting ceasefire orders in every language. Holographic beacons urged survivors to surrender. In the battered Concordia hangar, medbots scurried between wounded Marines in the makeshift triage tents. Dr. Ellen Horvath stabilized the worst injuries: traumatic fractures, radiation burns, hallucinogenic shock. On the bridge, Reyes allowed herself to sink into her command chair. The tactical display now showed green tick marks where red alerts had once flown. She touched the console. "Relief fleet, you may enter. Support our damage control teams." Her comm chirped again. It was Omar Davik, voice hoarse. "Commodore, I'm alive. Hangar 2 is intact. We lost 12 men, but we held. Thank you. Ray's throat tightened. Good work, Lieutenant. You bought us the opening we needed. She rose, eyes sweeping the calm horizon of stars. Epsilon Eridani had been the first crucible of Earth's total war, a maelstrom of strategy, fear, and raw courage. Lives had been lost, tragedies scarred every report. Yet, amidst the wreckage, something new had been forged, a resolute belief that Earth's united forces, tempered by adversity, could stand against any foe. Reyes closed her eyes, whispering a silent vow. This is only the beginning. War's first light has dawned. We will meet it, and we will endure. The battered fleets of the Coalition assembled beyond the orbit of Enceladus, Saturn's icy moon wreathed in rainbow-hued plumes of its cryovolcanic vents. Through swirling mists of frozen vapor, Earth's graviton carriers and Krathali, Leviathans held position in a sweeping wedge formation. Behind them, the Realmer dreadnought pulsed with a living glow, its neural hull arrayed in readiness for the final assault. Storming the glacier gates, Captain Mara Veston floated in the zero-G lock of the UESS Hammerfall, her breath steady beneath her helmet. She watched the viewport's nearest ice Spyron ancient formation, half submerged in methane frost fracture under the plasma charge of engineering drones carving a breach. Beyond that breach lay the hidden Cortex fortress, buried kilometers beneath the surface. Her orders crackled through comms. All strike teams, synchronize breach. T-0 in 10, 9, 8. A chorus of affirmative replies echoed among squads of Vanguard infantry, ember-masked Krathali shock troopers, and silicon-skinned Realmer shockwave specialists. At 0, magnetic grapplers on. The Hammerfall engaged, yanking the reinforced hull toward the newly carved tunnel like an angular whale beached into ice. The bay flooded with bitter wind as explosives detonated, and miles of frozen rock hissed away in cascading showers of crystalline shards. Mara kitted up. Move out. Her squad poured into the throat of the glacier, footsteps thudding on grated catwalks as auto torches flared to life, carving orange arcs across the cavern walls. Ahead, the narrow tunnel opened into a vast sublatial cavern lit by bioluminescent algae, ancient life forms disturbed by the intrusion. The sight took her breath, even through her filters, but there was no time for wonder. Cortex sentries, armored zealots with ceramite plates, sprang to life, their graviton carbines spitting black plasma bolts. The corridor erupted in strobing light. Cover, Mara shouted. She vaulted onto a catwalk rail and unleashed a burst from her electromagnetic rifle. 2 zealots crumpled as the rounds tore through obsolete armor. Behind her, Krathali shock troopers resonated a sonic pulse that shattered the remaining guards' visors, sending shards of glass into the icy air. In minutes, the Coalition forces secured the entrance to Cortex's inner sanctum. Reinforcements poured in, hover drones armed with nanosteel bullets, Realmer shield bearers forming living barriers, Earth engineers setting up gravitic stabilizers to prevent cave-ins. The real fight lay further in, where Warlord Carrick's awaited. 2. Through the labyrinth of ice, Lieutenant Omar Davik led Ember Squad deeper into the network of tunnels, his helmet display projecting the map of a labyrinth map from stolen Cortex schematics. Each junction bore surveillance turrets, nanomethyl tripwires, and deposits of cryogenic mines, devices designed to freeze intruders solid in an icy death. Left 30 meters, then straight, Davik instructed, voice calm despite the tension. The squad advanced in tight formation, rifles at the ready, every breath condensed into frost. Each footstep triggered hidden sensors. A false move would mean dismemberment by serrated ice blades or worse, crushing pressure if the tunnel collapsed. Realmer's specialist Claw tapped his gauntlet. 9 hostiles in the next chamber, all heavily armored. Davik nodded. Prepare sonic grenades. We neutralize armor. Then we push. He signaled Mara and the Krathali flankers converging from the opposite side. Coordination was crucial. Simultaneous breach to prevent zealots from stacking defenses. The plan unfolded like clockwork. Davik lobbed a sonic grenade into the chamber. The resulting wave shattered crystalline armor plating. Ember Squad stormed in, while Krathali shock troopers unleashed subsonic resonance that ruptured internal organs of the stunned zealots. Realmer shockwave specialists finished the job with cascading concussive blasts. At the back of the chamber, Davik found a biometric terminal. With a synchronized click, the Coalition's tech engineers uploaded a virus that overwrote Cortex. Security protocols. Doors beyond slammed open, no longer hidden. The path to the core lay exposed. 3. The heart of the fortress in the deepest vault, an immense cathedral of living ice and humming Machin. Airy warlord Carrick stood upon a dais of frozen stalactites. Behind him, the projection of Ambassador Liara Veston's final message flared in ghostly blue. "This is a provocation. We must respond." The image looped, taunting the Coalition forces, who now streamed into the chamber. Kerix, clad in blackened ceramite etched with swirling runes of syndicate lore, raised his arms. "Welcome, ye children of Earth." His voice echoed, warped by cryo-amplifiers. "You honor your fallen Peacekeeper with war, but peace forged by violence is no peace at all." From hidden passages, the remaining Cortex zealots emerged, cybernetic, limbs glinting under the holo lights, their eyes, lenses calibrated for agony. Bored into the intruders. Mara stepped forward, rifle leveled. "We honor her memory with justice, not vengeance. Your reign ends here, Kerix," he sneered. "Then come, let your bullets pierce the void." With a sweep of his gauntlet, he activated the dais's core. Drive a zero-point reactor feeding frozen energy into defensive shields. The chamber became a crucible. Gravity fluctuated as the reactor pulsed. Bolts of black fire arced across the floor. Coalition forces maneuvered in deadly ballet. Earth Marines threw plasma charges. Krathali symbionts phased through barriers. Realmer warriors generated tidal concussions. Amid the chaos, Mara pressed onward. Kerix blasted her with a focused ion beam. Spraying shards of ice from the walls, she sidestepped, charging with a cryogenic blade she'd looted from an earlier raid. Sparks flew as blade met ceramite, ringing through the cavern. IV. Duel in frozen timite was Mara and Kerix alone now. The world beyond the dais's glow fading into silence. Gravimetric distortions lent surreal weightlessness to their duel. Each strike carved a spray of crystalline fragments. Each parry sent shards dancing in turquoise arcs. Kerix lashed out with cybernetic claws, each strike capable of slicing a man in two. Mara countered with disciplined precision, her charm-plated gauntlet igniting in pulses of kinetic energy. She feinted low, forcing him to overcome it, then spun under his guard, planting a charged kinetic round into his pauldrons. He roared, staggering back. The reactor core behind him hummed in resonance, an ominous crescendo. Kerix lunged for the core's control console, intent on triggering meltdown. Mara sprinted, sliding across the slick floor. She dashed up the dais's frozen spines, her breath a plume of steam. Kerix's fist lobbed toward her, but she vaulted, burying her blade in his shoulder joint. Sparks of ceramite and flesh flew. He screamed, stumbling through the consoles. Interface, alarms blared red as the reactor spiraled into overload. Mara tore the blade free, took one last, decisive step, and punched Kerix's helm squarely, cracking the visor. His eyes, alive with hatred, dimmed as he collapsed to one knee. Yield, Mara commanded, but Kerix sagged. The reactors. Blast radius imminent. With a final effort, Mara hard-locked the reactor shutdown sequence on his console. The humming ceased. Lights steadied. The core's violent pulse stilled into a soft blue glow. Kerix lay panting, gauntlet arm hanging limp. He met Mara's gaze. "You honored the Peacekeeper," he rasped, collapsing fully. Mara holstered her blade. Her peace was her purpose, she said quietly, stepping back as Coalition med drones swarmed into secure HIMV. A new dawn of peace. Hours later, the Coalition's command deck orbited Enceladus in serene quiet. On the holodeck council, Admiral Reyes, Captain Veston, and delegates from all three species watched as Cortex strongholds across the galaxy broadcast news of Kerix's capture and the fall of the Syndicate's command network. A message flickered. On the main screen, Earth's President Mercer, flanked by Krathali Speaker Val and Realmer Archivist Slur. "Today," Mercer intoned, "we have shown that true peace demands courage, not capitulation. The Cortex Syndicate's reign of terror is broken. Let us now build a lasting alliance founded on mutual respect and shared stewardship. The chamber erupted. In resonant applause, human hands clapping, Krathali shards chimming, Realmer currents pulsing in harmonic rhythm. Mara and Reyes exchanged weary but triumphant glances. The weight of war still lingered wounded soldiers in med bays. Damaged starbases awaiting repair, but the future gleamed with promise. In the observation gallery, Liara Veston's holographic form shimmered once more, no longer a specter of death, but a living testament to diplomacy and sacrifice. Below, the last of the strike fleets docked to unload supplies, refugees, and survivors. Mara whispered to Davik at her side, "Do you think she'd be proud?" He looked up at the hologram. Voice soft, "She'd say the job's not done. Peace is a lifetime's work." Mara nodded. "Then let's get to work." As the coalition forces dispersed to rebuild in the silent glow of Saturn's rings, a single truth endured. They had killed a human peacekeeper, and Earth had declared total war, but from that crucible rose something far stronger than any weapon. Unity, and with unity, the galaxy's fragile light shone all the brighter.